In this video, I'm going to show you how to block keywords and phrases for generative answers inside of PVA. I'm going to do this video a little differently than I've done my videos in the past. For this video, I'm going to show you the easy way to do this, where I just give you a code sample of how to be able to do it. And then in the second part, you'll be able to understand the details of how I actually achieved this. So if you just want the quick and easy way, we're going to walk through that first. But stay tuned at the end if you want to understand the details behind how to do this yourself. So the first step for building a bot where you want to use generative answers, but you don't ever want to be able to have it where someone asks a question with certain keywords, or you don't want the bot to ever respond with these keywords in a generative way, is we're going to give you a quick URL here. And you'll see the URL, I'll highlight it here, but also know that the actual clickable link for this will be available down below in the notes on this video. So the first thing will be that you'll need to go get this file and download this file if you want to do it the easy way. Now, the second thing is we'll just go create ourselves a bot. And in this case, I'm going to create a bot. I'm going to say Microsoft.com is the generative answers component that I want. So make sure you do that. I'm going to flip over and turn on to lesson topics as well. And then I'm going to go through and we're going to create the bot. Now I'm going to speed this up just for time's sake. All right, so I have my new bot here. I'm just going to skip the instructions. Notice that this will be grayed out. Once this is no longer grayed out, you'll be able to take the next steps. Okay, now you can see that we have our settings here. What we're going to check is we'll just go down to the AI capabilities, and you'll see here that we have created something that will respond. Now, be aware that there is a moderation level that can be handled here if you want to control the out-of-the-box moderation. But what I'm going to show you specifically will allow you to be able to block your own custom keyword list. Now, the way to do this is we're going to need to go back up here to topics and just be aware of a couple of key things. Number one is you'll have a system topic. It's called conversational boosting, and it's located right here. Now, the second thing is we're going to need to create a topic. And that topic, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new one from blank and go ahead and click allow on this so that you can copy and paste. Now, we're going to put no trigger phrases within this topic. And actually what we're going to do is open up the files that I asked you to download earlier. And in the files, there's two text files that are in it. There's one that says conversational boosting and one that says blocklist analyze. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the topic here to be the blocklist analyze. So the display name, you can see the display name that I'm using right here. So we can just copy the blocklist analyze out of that in your notepad. Helps to do this if you have dual monitors. And I can see that I've spelt analyze incorrectly, but don't worry about that. You can correct that if you'd like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to open up the backend code editor. So in this, to do that, you come here and you say open in code editor. At this point, you have your entire conversation in the code behind. So this is all YAML. So the code that I gave you for blocklist analyze is right here. And all you need to do is do a Control-A to copy all of this, and then a Control-C. Now that you've done that, come in here and highlight everything and just drop it like this. Now that we've done that, we can close our code editor, and you will see here that we actually have built all of the logic that we need for a reusable topic to be able to look up things in a block list. So go ahead and hit save on this so that you keep a hold of that. Now, the next step is how do I provide what I want to get blocked. If you notice, there is a block list right here that is a table. And if you open this up, you'll see that I've created a Power Effects table. Now, all you need to do is if you want to add an additional item or you want to change it, you just put a comma, carriage return, and then put parentheses, new item, right? And you'll know that it'll check it to make sure that everything's good. So this is where you maintain your list. Now, if you notice that I put order status versus the word order, that's because if you put a short word just like order, it's going to block everything that is order, that says the word order. If you say order status, it will only block things with the word, with the string of order status within it. So just be aware, this is just simple keyword matching. Kind of think of it as like just exact string matching on this. So now that we've done this, you can say insert if you want to change it. And then now just remember to save if you want to make any changes to the block list. Now what we need to do is we need to switch over, and I'm going to show you a quick way to do this in case people don't know this. You can actually, and you could type it here if you've got a lot of stuff, but we're going to go over to the conversational boosting tab. Now this is what it looks like by default. Know that when we create this from my string, you're going to end up with the data source of Microsoft.com because that's part of the code that's in here. So we'll do the same thing where we go to the conversational boosting one that we have, and then we can just do a Control A, then a Control C, so that we're copying everything. And then we go into the code behind again, select everything that's in here, do Control V, and then what we want to do is we want to close it. And you're going to see something here that's going to be a problem. And it's because of the fact that what we've done is we've copied something. And there is code that I've got behind this that is pointing to specific topics. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and fix the changes here. So the topic that you want, oh, sorry, let's not do that. What we want to do is make sure that this redirect is going to the right place. So we want it to go to the block list analyze. And then you'll notice that all of a sudden, as soon as we fix that, a lot of things got corrected. So you'll see all of the rest of this is fixed. Now, be aware that you need to add an input. And the input that we're going to pass is the text that I want to analyze. And the text in this case is a system topic called activity.text. That is what the bot said, what someone said to the bot. So you want to pass what they said through the block list analyze and come back. Now, if we scroll on down, you'll see that once we get done asking a question, the response will come back. So we also want to change this, and we want to do the block list analyze again. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to put the input to be, we want to send it to the text to analyze, and we want the content to actually be the answer that came back from Generative Answers. So now that we've done this and we hit save, if I try to ask a question of, do you have, or I should say something like, what kind of account status do you offer? You're going to see that what it's going to do, and we'll see it track it here, that it hit the text to analyze and it went this way. So in other words, it hit a block. And you'll see, because if it would allow it, it would have went further, right? And you'll see that the bot said, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. So as you can see, now we're blocking things that are coming in. And if the bot were to respond, let's say that I didn't ask about account, but the account status query was inside of the response, it would have made it through here, but the response would have went through the same check, and you would have got a block, and it would have went the same path. So this is the super easy way on how to be able to do this. Hopefully this is helpful to many of you out there. Feel free to download this. Make sure that you like and put comments in, but definitely check the notes in the video to be able to do this. For those of you that are interested in being able to see the details behind this logic, stay tuned for the second half of the video, and I'll show you how that's done. If you made it to this part of the video, you're one of the brave souls that have decided to learn more about how this was done. Stay tuned, and I'll show you exactly how I was able to build this. Okay, all you PVA experts that are curious to how to do all of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not necessarily build it all here. I'm going to walk you through all the pieces of this. Since you have the code sample, which again, down below here, here's the link again where you can go get that, that sample of code, but you can go in and look at the code behind and the actual YAML itself to see the details, but I'm going to actually show you the details of how the whole thing is working from top to bottom in this back section. So just hold on tight. We'll get through this and you'll get to see how all of it's working. So the first thing is, let's click over inside that bot that we created in this first half, and let's take a look at what we have. We'll start with the block list analyze topic and just walk through the different nodes that we created. So first thing is, you want the topic to be created, and notice that I did not set any triggers. A good way of building a reusable component in PVA is to build a component by creating a topic that you call from other topics, but actually has no real trigger itself. So if you have a phrase that has no phrases defined, there's no way to trigger this beyond being just called. So it's a little, even in PVA 1 or the early version of PVA, you could do this. So this is not a new concept to PVA. Now, you'll see here that the first thing I did was I went in and I set a variable. And what I'm doing here is creating a variable for what are the terms that I want to block. And in order to do that, you can just do a simple, topic management, variable management, set a variable value, and you'll get this node. Then once you have this node, what you're going to want to look at is, number one, you'll look at the variable itself. And this is a topic scoped variable because I don't need this for anything except this topic. Now, if you notice that the value that's being set, the value I kind of go over that before, which is just a PowerFX formula on being able to create a table. And this table, all I'm doing is just returning a bunch of different values. So by doing this, all of this will be in memory. So sure, could you go put this in an Excel spreadsheet and call it and things of that nature? You could, but you don't want to do that because it'll take more time to process it. So if you're looking for a performant way to do this, we're doing this where we're storing this data in memory so that it can be done very quickly without having to call an external source. So that's why I'm doing it specifically as a PowerFX formula here and to the variable. Now, if we close that off, let's move to the next one. We have a second variable value that we're being set here. And in this one, we're basically setting a value on the disallowed terms. And what we're doing with this one, and you'll see here that this is a string value. So I just created this, again, topic level variable, and then I'm using a PowerFX formula. Now let's look at this PowerFX formula. In the PowerFX formula, I'm doing a lookup against that table that we had here. So I'm looking up the information that was provided in this. Then the second thing I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm doing a lower and then the value. Now, why am I doing that? The reason is because I want to convert any string that came in the text that I'm going to analyze. I want it all in lowercase, so I don't have to worry about case manipulation and do I have to put the string in as upper or lowercase. But that does mean that in the table, you only want to use lowercase. Then what I'm looking for is did anything in this block list, which is I'm converting it to a lower value. So that way, if I accidentally put it in upper and lowercase, I'm going to convert it to lower. Then what I'm doing is I'm saying check in, uh, look for that, and is there in this variable that's called topic.text to analyze whether or not I'm actually returning and return back the value of this. So by doing this, what you're doing is you're looking to see is in this block list, using this block list, converting it to a lowercase, then turning around and using a lowercase value inside of the text to analyze and the value of that text to analyze. I'm passing that in. So in a sense, simply saying, here's the text that I want to analyze, which is stored in a variable. We'll talk about how I got that variable in just a second. And then I want to look at that, and then I want to validate whether or not something was in that list. And I'm using the lower setting to be able to make sure everything is in lowercase so that I can get a true match. The other thing is I'm using that lookup command. Okay, so pretty explanatory, hopefully there. But you're going to notice something here. You're going to notice that there's a topic dot text to analyze. Now let's go back and look. You'll notice here that I don't have, where is the variable for this, right? You don't see it. So how did I create that? Well, there's actually a little bit of a trick in PVA that if you want to have a variable that you want to be able to be set, you can actually create it in a non-visual way. Now, there are two ways to do this. If you are a super expert, then you'll notice that in the code editor down here, and I know you can't see this behind here, but what you're looking at is this as input type, and you'll see this text to analyze. So what this is doing is it's saying that there is an input that is available. Now, just to show you this in the code that I gave you before, you'll notice here that this is the part right here that is making this variable. Now, you may say, well, hey, wait a minute, I don't really want to have to remember how to do all of this, right? Like, I don't want to remember the syntax. So what's an easy way to be able to get that there if you don't want to remember the syntax? It's actually pretty easy. So ahead of the node where you're wanting to call something and you're wanting to call this, you can just simply come in and say that you want to create, and here, let me hit F5 really quick. So the way to do it is that you just come in right here, and before it, you come in and you say that you want to do variable and you want to set a variable value. Then what you do is you call the variable. You say, oh, I want to create a new variable. In this case, what we'll do is we'll create a variable and we'll call it foo, right? Now, the thing is that if you want to create a variable that could be set that you want to use in like a formula or something like that, but you want to make it available that some other topic is actually setting that variable value. The way you can do that is you can have a topic scoped variable, but you can say that that topic scope variable can receive values from other topics. Now, once we do that, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to set a value of like A on this, and then I'm going to save it. And it's going to tell me I have an error, but don't worry about that, okay? Now, if we go back into the code behind now, what you're going to see is that now we have right here, we've got the ability to, of an input type, to be able to set it to foo, and the type is unspecified. But there's something that I did, which is now I've got like a set variable that's happening up here. And if you take this and you just delete this out and you close your code editor, all of a sudden this is gone. However, what you'll see on the back end is that if I wanted to call or use this variable in a different location, it's now available. So what I'm going to do just to demonstrate this to you is I'm going to save it so that you will be able to see this. And we'll keep walking this topic, but we'll remember this for later that we created the variable inside of this topic for foo, okay, and made it available to other topics. So now if we go on down and we say, okay, we looked it up, looked up the information. Now what we're looking for is the value that we got back. Is it blank or is it not blank? If it's not blank, then I need to block it because it returned back one of these were found inside of this. So that's what the disallowed terms match is. And then what I'm doing is I'm setting a variable value, which is block content, to either block or allow. And so I just did a closed list variable on this to be able to allow block content. And that's how I'm having this to block or, well, I'm sorry, I just have it set to the value of block or allow. So you're seeing here, if it matches, if it has a match, which would mean this would come back as non-blank, it passes in a block. If it doesn't, then it goes and sets the value to allow. Now, there's one last piece that we need to make sure that we're aware of, and that is that the block content variable, if we look at this, it actually is set where the topic has a limited scope and it is returning back a return value to the original topic. So this is so that I don't have to set a global variable. I can actually use a topic scope variable that will return the information back to the one that started the conversation. So again, building that modular component. Now, by doing all of this, we've created a modular way that we could use this in any other topic that we want. So we can call this to always analyze through anything. Now, why is that important? You may actually use generative answers as a node in a topic in another place, but you want to apply that block list to all of the different instances. So this is why building this as a reusable component is so important. It's also why I made it where I have the variable where I can pass a value in is stored within the topic itself as a modular component. So that way I can just use it over and over. Now, let's go and let's jump over to conversational boosting, which is the second half of the magic here. So in this, we have our unknown intent, it fires, and notice that I have here that I'm going to redirect. And you see here, I'm using text to analyze. Now, if you notice, I have foo available to me as well. So if I wanted to pass a value to foo to the other table or to the other topic, I can now. So in this case, what we're going to do is the text to analyze. I'm going to set that when I pass it over to the activity.text. And again, activity.text is the system variable that allows you to pull what was the last thing someone said to the bot. Now, that is redirected to the block list analyze. It comes back. We get the value of is it allowed or disallowed. If it says it's allowed, then I pass it to generative answers. If it's blocked, I immediately just go bypass everything because I don't want to send it to generative answers. So it just skips right out. If it says it's allowed, then you pass the activity.text in to your data source. And in this case, again, remember, I had set it to Microsoft.com. You could do it to any custom data source, whatever you want to use for your generative answers here. Then what I'm doing is, okay, but what if the actual response had the words that were in my block list? I need to go back through. I need to make sure that that's not the case. And since I modularize that whole thing, I can just call it again. And in this case, on the input for text to analyze, I'm passing the answer that is coming back from generative answers. And if it does not, if it comes back and it says, number one, the response is not blank, right? So if it's actually returns a value and it's allowed, then I'm going to say the response and I'm going to end the topic. If not, I'm going to escape out. So hopefully you can see here that part of what we're trying to do is be able to control the way that the bot is responding. And so with that, um, you now understand from top to bottom how this whole thing works. And we also learned another new valuable lesson, which is how to be able to have an input variable that we can set from inside of a topic from another topic without actually having to set a value in that particular topic. So hopefully this was helpful. Please make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments or things of that nature, put them into our comments section. And definitely, as always, if you want to go try out Power Virtual Agents, you can do so at aka.ms/trypva. And thanks again, and have a wonderful day.